with the powers combined of 3,000 episodes of podcasting, Veronica Belmont and Tom Merritt bring you news, bots, shocking your brain. We're going to talk about shocking your brain.
Are we?
Yeah. Damn right we are. Maybe I should shock your brain so you can focus on that story.
No, thank you. Please.
No, it's a military thing. It's low level. It's low level. It's tingling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just a little transcranial electric stimulation.
Good.
So you'll put implants in your body, but you don't want to be shocked.
No, and I don't even want the, I know the guy who made that like shocking wearable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't really have a whole lot of application though, does it? The shocking wearable.
Well, it's supposed to like keep you from doing
bad things.
Bad things.
It's like a shock collar for yourself.
Totally.
Yeah. No, this electrical stimulation supposedly has the effect of making your brain more neuroplastic, so you can train for longer. Super soldiers. It's all about super soldiers. Well, folks, we're going to go ahead and start episode 3000. Ready?
Okay.
Hey, it's National Podcast Month. No, that's not true. There's no such thing. But if there was a National Podcast Month, wouldn't you want to support your favorite podcast? Go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support to help us out.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, April 3rd, 2017. Episode 3000. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me, Veronica Belmont, who's been with me since those earliest of episodes. How's it going, Veronica?
Great. He really had me going there. I was like, National Podcast Month. Why didn't I hear about this?
Big Jim is like, but it could be. We looked it up. There was a National Weather Podcast Month. That was the only one we could actually find. But yes, if you are looking at our show numbers and you're like, wow, 3,000 episodes of Daily Tech News Show. It didn't seem like there have been that many. It's because there haven't. Our episode numbers were made up. Darian Kitchen's suggestion when we launched Daily Tech News Show, he's like, episode numbers are kind of bunk anyway. They don't really mean much. Why not take the number of Buzz Out Loud episodes that happened while you were there? So the episode number from the last Buzz Out Loud at CNET that I was on, plus the episodes of Tech News Today that had happened when I was on the team. Add those together, add one, make that your first Daily Tech News Show episode number. So that's what we did. So this is not the 3,000th episode of Daily Tech News Show, nor is it the 3,000th Daily Tech News show I've done, even if you count Buzz Out Loud and TNT, because those episode numbers include episodes that I wasn't on, right?
So how many episodes of Daily Tech News Show have you done?
I don't know.
Somebody knows. Out there
Somebody
in the world.
knows. No, they said it on Friday, and I don't remember what it was. It's a few hundred,
Not bad.
Yeah, definitely a few hundred. I figure when we get to a year anniversary, like the 5th year, then that's the kind of thing that we'll celebrate. Instead of the particular episode numbers. But Veronica was there in the earliest of Buzz Out Loud days, so it's appropriate. Thank you for being here to celebrate episode 3000.
Always. I'll be there for the next 3,000 probably as well.
Good. Let's start with a few tech things you should know. HTC's Viveport VR game subscription service launches Wednesday, delivering 5 games a month for $7 a month. Then you can swap out. You can only have 5 at a time. It's like a library, I guess.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
According to StatCounter's internet usage numbers, Android is now the world's most used operating system with 37.93 market share, just ahead of Windows at 37.91.
And this is just web. This doesn't include apps. I bet Android gets more usage if you start counting apps in there.
Yeah, totally.
Windows Central notes that Netflix's option for offline viewing of select content is now available in the Windows 10 Netflix app. That doesn't include the Xbox or Windows 10 mobile, by the way. That's just the one for your desktop and laptop and some tablets.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, here are some more top stories. Imagination Technologies disclosed that Apple is going to stop licensing graphic processing technology for new products within 15 to 24 months. So they'll keep licensing it for the old iPads and iPhones, but somewhere in the next 15 to 24 months, Apple will put out an iPad or an iPhone that has Apple's own designs for GPU inside. Licenses from Apple have made up more than half of Imagination's revenue, amounting to about 60.7 million pounds. Yeah, in the last fiscal year. So, of course, their stock took a big hit because that's a big amount. That emphasizes the need for diversification right there.
Yeah.
And Imagination says, quote, it would be extremely challenging to design a brand new GPU architecture from basics without infringing our patents.
That's really interesting.
So I think Imagination was fine with this because they thought, well, they'll always have to license patents from us. Even if they design their own GPU, they're going to have to license patents. Rich Stroffolino pointed out there was a Business Insider story back in October describing Apple hiring employees from Imagination. They hired away Imagination's 20-year chief operating officer, John Metcalf. His LinkedIn says he's now a senior director at Apple. He started there last July. And Imagination in that Business Insider story said, that's fine. Well, people work with our great people and sometimes they want to hire them, but as long as we keep doing business, it's great. So this would be them being, hey, remember that as long as we keep doing business part? Yeah, that's not cool, Apple.
That's going to be tricky. I wonder if this is going to be another Oculus kind of story that develops over time where maybe there could be some issue down the road.
Yeah, well, there's NDAs involved for sure that Imagination employees, had to sign saying, and that Apple had to sign saying, we'll let you understand how our technology works as long as you don't steal it.
And it's not like Apple can't afford the licensing fees. Like they could probably, I'm not Apple legal. I'm sure they've thought all of this through already.
Sure, of course.
But like, from an outsider's perspective, it's like, well, you could have just kept licensing it. I'm not sure what that amounts to. It's probably a good amount of money, but at the same time, it would save you from potentially, going through some legal trouble down the road.
My guess, because why does Imagination go public with this? Because negotiations aren't going well. My guess is that Apple and Imagination are still talking about their relationship because Apple probably said, well, we just wanted to design the GPU in-house. And Imagination said, well, good luck with that without our patents. And so now there's a little brinksmanship where Imagination was trying to hold on to the business and Apple was trying to pull it back. And
why would they not try to hold on? 60.7 million pounds.
Totally, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
No, I get it. Exactly.
Yeah. They have an interest.
I would not be surprised if all of this plays out with Apple and Imagination signing some sort of agreement at some point. But yeah, clearly they have some work to do, as they say.
Facebook, Mozilla, Jimmy Wales, the Craig Newmark Philanthropic Fund, and 15 other nonprofits and individuals from around the world have launched the News Integrity Initiative, a $14 million fund to advance news literacy. The initiative will focus on applied research projects and organized meetings with industry people. The University of New York Graduate School of Journalism will administer the program. So that's really an interesting group of people getting together to try to figure out how to fix news.
Yeah, Jeff Jarvis, whom a lot of people know from Twit, but he's also the director of the Tone Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism, is overseeing the grant money here. And he's saying, look, I think we can teach each other a lot. Social networks can teach how people are talking about these issues these days, and journalists can teach platforms about the responsibilities and what good practices of journalism are. And it's a really interesting consortium, like the Hamburg Media School in Germany, the Society of Publishers in Asia from Hong Kong, the Walkley Foundation in Australia. Like, this is a truly global. There's a foundation, the Gabriel Garcia Marquez Foundation for New Journalism in Ibero-American journalism from Colombia is part of this. So this almost feels like something that could actually make a difference because it's the two sides of an issue talking to each other about how they do business.
Roger's going to be mad at me, but I switched my microphone, so I'm going to sound different for the rest of the episode.
That's okay. Was
I was on the wrong microphone.
Was that a journalistic choice?
It was a quality journalistic choice.
Well, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? There's so many initiatives, so many attempts to like improve journalism. What do you think of this one?
Well, especially with Facebook being involved and Wikipedia via Jimmy Wales, Craig Newmark is just the kind of guy that would be interested in this from his own perspective. I know it's his foundation and not necessarily him personally, but I'm sure he's going to be involved as well. But these are all people with very interesting perspectives on news and communication. And I think putting great minds together can only work for good.
Security consultant Raphael Scheel demonstrated a proof of concept exploit that would allow someone to take control of a smart television using only a low-cost transmitter to send a malicious TV broadcast over the air. Hey, and if you had access to a big transmitter, you could control a lot of televisions at once. The attack worked against 2 fully updated Samsung TVs by exploiting known security flaws in the web browsers that run in the background. The attack gave full control of the TVs. Scheel said that he sees no reason why this wouldn't work against other smart TV platforms. It's not just Samsung. A lot of them have vulnerabilities in their browsers. So this is another one of those signposts along the way of, hey, you guys, if you're going to have internet-connected devices, televisions or otherwise, you have to keep them up to date. You have to patch known vulnerabilities.
So is this a signal through OTA, or is it how is it actually connecting to?
It's it is a broadcast signal that the TV receives, and it has to be using this. I can't remember now off the top of my head what it's called, but it's a smart carrier wave. Basically, it sends some information, digital video broadcasting terrestrial. So it's a hybrid broadcast broadband TV standard that allows some information to be sent, and so it's not dissimilar from a standard injection attack where as it's sending that information that the TV thinks is just going to be, trusted text that it can use to describe the program, let's say, or maybe some URLs that they can pass along to the smart TV. You can put some malicious code in there, and then that malicious code is injected into the browser by the smart TV, and then it takes advantage of the vulnerability, and boom, you've rooted the TV and can do whatever you want with it, and maybe start looking at other things on the network.
Am I smart if I have cut the cord? Am I safe?
If you are not connected to a DVB-T-based station on your smart TV, then you are pretty safe. But, there's not a lot of workarounds for this at this point. So I would like to hear something from Samsung and others fairly soon about this.
Poor Samsung.
Yeah, this is not an in the wild exploit. So
that's good for now.
I know. Raphael, couldn't you have picked LG for this one? Except, yeah.
No. The New York Times has a feature article describing how Uber used psychological tricks on their drivers, as described in interviews with drivers, current and former Uber officials, and social scientists. Drivers will be shown how close they are to an earnings goal when they start to log off. A new ride will be offered before one in progress, and drivers earn badges for hitting certain marks in service. One experiment found showing drivers how much money they were losing by driving in an off-peak time was more effective than telling them how much more money they would make by switching times, though Uber decided against using that particular method.
Now, this New York Times story is really trying to push the idea of this is manipulative, and Uber is quoted in the article saying, we're not trying to manipulate, we're just trying to make it easier for drivers to know where the money is. And so that's where the debate is cast, right? Which of these things are just...
To me, it's porque no los todos. Why not? Why not both?
Well, it's totally true.
It's like it can be both. And
both
realmente
verdad. I mean, it is both, I think. Uber is probably not going to do something that is purely manipulative, if for no other reason that they don't need the press at this point. But they want to do things that are maybe a little manipulative, but also have a defensible benefit to the driver. So, for instance, this idea of giving a driver an offer to take another ride before they're done with the ride they have is described in this article as being like binging from Netflix, right?
Well, also it's efficiency. It's supposed to be efficiency. Instead of like finishing a ride and sitting around and waiting for the next one to pick up. I've seen drivers do this a million times. It makes sense. But, this is a lot of like game process. They're actually taking like game mechanics and building it into the app for the drivers.
Right.
And that's how you keep them hooked. That's how you keep them in the system.
On the one hand, Uber is perfectly justified in saying, look, we don't stop you from logging out. All we're doing is saying, hey, you're only $10 away from $300. That doesn't stop you from logging out. You still can log right out. You have full control. I get that. That's totally true. But is there is there a bridge too far where they're starting to be an abusive spouse to you and guilting you?
Just one more hit, you know, just a little bit more. I totally, it feels like being in a casino almost.
Right.
In some regards, but at the same time, you know, it is a money-making system. The drivers know how it works, or they should at least. I think they have some really good features in there where they're like, okay, I'm getting ready to sign up for the night. You can take one more drive, and then this might be Lyft only, actually. I'm not sure if Uber does the same technique, but you can accept a drive that's going in the way towards your home.
Right.
So you don't accidentally, if you live in Berkeley, you're not taking a passenger out to Marin, for example.
Yeah, there's a feature where you can say, I need to be at this location by this time, and they'll try to get your rides closer to that location.
Which is efficient.
Really cool.
You can make a little more money before you clock off out of your shift.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense. So there are some good features that are built in like this that work for the driver as well. And ultimately the drivers are trying to make as much money as possible. So, you know, having some efficiency built into the system makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I think your gambling analogy is perfectly accurate. There are some people who are going to be easily able to resist these sort of psychological markers and say, no, you know what? I'm done for the night. It doesn't matter. But there may be personality types that have a hard time. And in fact, Uber had to put in a pause button because some drivers were complaining that they were needing to go to the bathroom, but they felt like they had to keep taking rides.
Well, I don't know what these badges do for them either. If these badges
they're just
signify, okay, but if they somehow like change the amount of money or the number of
as far as
rides
I know,
these drivers could get,
they're just achievements. That's
okay.
it. But yeah, sometimes that's enough though. You know how people get.
I know how I used to get with Swarm.
Right?
I know how it goes.
Military.com has a report about the U.S. Navy's use of transcranial electric stimulation to help soldiers train better. A small group of volunteers from SEAL Team 6 and a few others have been trying out the $749 Halo neuroscience headset. Looks like a pair of headphones, and in fact acts like a pair of headphones, but it's also containing some silicon spikes called neuroprimers that emit electrical impulses that supposedly stimulate the motor cortex and make it more receptive, more neuroplastic. So here's all you got to do, Veronica. Just spray your head with a little saline solution to ensure good contact, then wear it during your exercise warm-up. And that tingling, the tingling sensation means it's working.
Wait, so the example video they're showing are some of the San Francisco Giants trying on this headset. And I'm like, maybe don't use this. We haven't.
Hey, they got into the playoffs. Okay. Halo claims it has helped the Giants. It's also, they say it's helped Olympic athletes. There's not a lot of science one way or another on this at this point. Although Rear Admiral Tim Szymanski told military.com that in experiments that they've done, he says the headsets have helped preserved concentration so that where it might normally fall off after 20 minutes, they can keep it going for, he says, 20 hours, which seems almost unbelievable.
I'd be willing to try it, though. That'd be fun to test out.
So you're okay with this?
Yeah, it sounds like you really set it up in a very aggressive sounding way in the big, like,
shocking
pre-show.
Your brain. Yes. This is literally shocking your brain, but it's low level.
Okay.
And it's from the outside.
Yeah.
There's no brain surgery involved. I would like to see some peer-reviewed studies on the effectiveness of this. It could very easily be a placebo effect, right?
What is the thing we were talking about last week? The neuro mesh.
Yeah, the neural mesh, right?
It's not quite neural mesh level.
No, this is a pair of headphones, right?
Okay, yeah.
This is not that does not require your skull to be cracked open. But it's interesting, and it's only $749, so you could try this out yourself, apparently.
I would test it.
If you have 749 spare dollars laying around.
I don't. Can we have a tech review unit?
Yes, let us know if any of you do have a spare $749. You can let us know how it works. To get all the tech headlines each day in less than 5 minutes, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. Now, as many of you know, Veronica has Botzine, and issue number 71 came out just yesterday, right?
Today.
Monday
mornings.
Oh, today.
Yep.
Monday mornings. And one of the stories in there was from Marketing Land. Tim Peterson wrote an article called Inside Chatbots' Year of Growing Pains. We're at an inflection point. And the main premise, if I've got this right, V, is that not enough has been done to promote chatbots since they hit the scene again last year. So usage is not growing like people hoped it would. And therefore, developers aren't getting enough feedback or enough usage data to be able to significantly improve them.
Yeah, this is interesting and something that a ton of people have been talking about. Back in 2016, Phil Libin, who was the founder of Evernote and is now a venture capitalist at General Catalyst, he's one of our investors actually at Growbot. He said that chatbots are kind of going through this fart app phase. If you remember back when the iOS App Store kind of launched, a lot of the apps out there were not very good. They were kind of just proof of concepts. Developers were playing around, testing them out, seeing what was possible on the
flashlight level.
Yeah, there was like 100,000 flashlight apps.
Yeah.
100,000 fart apps. Press the button, make a fart sound. And so the beginning of 2016, late 2015, were very much that Fartbot stage. People were building things on different platforms, testing out the technology, seeing what was possible. And so there was a huge influx of news and information about bots, and all of the big platforms were getting into them. Everyone from Facebook and Kik and eventually they came out on messages for iOS. So pretty much every chat platform at this point has some form of bots built into it. But at the same time, we've been noticing that, typically people will test out a bunch or try one for a little bit or pick up a chat with one on Facebook Messenger and then not really continue with that level of engagement that you would hope to see. And that's totally understandable. And so people are now trying to figure out, what exactly are the use cases for bots? When do they make sense? Should a bot only really make sense if it's doing something that an app or a website cannot do? Should it be somehow working to facilitate conversation through an app or a website? So yeah, a lot of people are trying to figure that out. But at the same time, Facebook is kind of, while they are planned to announce bots working in group chats at F8 coming up soon, they're also kind of scaling back on surfacing bots through Messenger because they haven't been seeing the engagement numbers I think they were expecting. But that was also a major problem with Facebook Messenger from the start, was that people didn't really know how to find bots. Actually getting bots to float to the surface and having some kind of consistent directory wasn't something that really existed. So we're seeing tons of third-party directories that are typically cross-platform and just sharing bots that are bubbling to the surface and becoming popular through word of mouth.
It's a bit of a chicken and an egg problem, right? Based on this article, it sounds like, first of all, 78% of people in the U.S. have not even heard of chatbots. So that could be a blessing or a curse, right? You still have a chance to make a first impression with 78% of the U.S.
Right.
But when these first rolled out, I, and probably most users, thought, I'll be able to just have a conversation like I do, or at least try to, with Siri or Amazon Voice Services or whatever. And developers were thinking of them as scripts. And so he uses the weather bot as an example in his article, where it's like the weather bot, they just expected people to say, I am in Los Angeles. What is the weather? And people were coming in and like, hey, it's cold out there. Why? And there's like a whole different way people approach it. And so now some folks are doing things like making it more menu driven by suggesting responses. And even Facebook has a menu system where you can't do anything but reply with suggested responses. Yeah. And how do you feel about that? Because that feels like it's taking it backward and making them less capable, but at the same time, it's going to have better satisfaction because you won't have the constant, I don't understand. This
is what I talk about this all the time, and it's 100% true. I think developers really scaled back, especially with using things like NLP and ML, natural language processing, when talking to consumers. because people, I mean, there are just so many ways that someone wants to talk to a bot, and limiting the scope of what the bot understands and making that extremely clear to the user is like job number one for a bot creator. You really have to tell the user how they can communicate with the bot, what kind of commands work, whether it be through keyword commands or whether it be through buttons or menus or cards or whatever system of interface that you're using for that bot. And that's just good design. I mean, that's like product design number one. Lesson number one is the user has to understand how to use your product,
right,
or you're not going to get much done. And so, yeah, there has been this, I think, very common misconception that all bots can respond to all kinds of commands. And that's not how it works.
And I think that needs to be made clear, because I think even I assumed that a lot of these chatbots would have AI behind them, and a lot of them don't.
No.
They're just really, really smart scripts. And that's still useful. It's still, the conversational interface in that case can still be more efficient than just throwing someone at a website, right? Because it can guide you through it. But like you said, that needs to be made clear when it's like, hey man, I'm not here to just talk. You know, I can answer very specific questions. And so I think the suggested interface is, the suggested response interface is probably good there. But I get with the concern of like, well, then why not just have a menu system on a website? Why do you need a chatbot? So we may be teaching people the wrong thing, et cetera, et cetera. I think the more AI you can put into them so they can handle a little bit of conversation, but like you say, still say, hey, I'm a weather bot. You start bringing up politics, I ain't got to talk about it. You know.
I think Poncho is a really interesting case too, because they had the unfortunate amount of spotlight put on them like very quickly. They were kind of one of like 3 apps that came to the surface when bots really hit it big. So it was like them, the Weather Channel bot, like 1-800-Flowers, and like maybe a handful of others. And this was when Messenger really launched with bots. And they were just bombarded with queries all the time. And they have a very conversational way about them, where the language that Poncho the Weather Cat uses is pretty laid back and chill. So you kind of feel like you can talk to it, but you couldn't even put your zip code in and get the weather for that zip code.
That's a problem.
You had to know exactly what input to say in order to get the weather for your area. And that ended up with a lot of churned users. That ended up with a lot of people who never went back. And so they fixed on that. And I think they're using Wit.ai now for their NLP.
Yeah, that's what it said in the article.
Yeah, so a lot of companies are using Wit. A lot are using Lex from Alexa. A lot of them are using things like Watson. There's a ton now of different services that kind of provide bot makers with that natural language processing, which can really go a long way towards enabling conversation with users. But at the same time, you have to put a lot of effort into training your bot for what it's looking for and how to respond to those messages too. It's not just going to know that off the bat. There's a lot of work that the developer has to do on their side as well. So it's an ongoing process, but I think finding the appropriate use cases is really what it comes down to. And that's the hard part.
I like what he had at the end of the article, where they were talking about bots really should be seen as customer relations management. They're salespeople. And because you can keep having a conversation with a bot later. One of the complaints that you mentioned earlier was people trying a bot and never going back. But if you're doing it right, it becomes something that reaches out to you appropriately, not spamming you, but when it knows that there's something that you're interested in and says, hey, you know, I know you buy, you buy skirts from us. We're having a sale on skirts. Just thought I'd let you know. Like, again, I don't want to, that example could sound spammy to a lot of people, but in the appropriate context, you might be very excited to hear about that.
I think Foursquare actually had a pretty neat little project that they did called MarsBot that you don't really chat with, but it uses Foursquare's geofencing to realize when you're in a particular area. And if it knows that you like sushi, for example, it'll say, hey, oh, I see you're in Civic Center. This new sushi place opened up. I think you might like it. And so it sends these kind of unsolicited, but also highly valuable messages for the particular user. And it doesn't do it very often. Yeah,
I'm a MarsBot user. It does not spam me. And when it says something, it's usually like, oh, that's cool. That's cool to know. Even if I don't need to do it right then. because
Yeah.
it's based on me saying, yes, you can send me that. And here's the kind of things that I'm interested in.
Totally. And I think that kind of situation makes a lot of sense. And, especially with customer service stuff as well, intercom, I think, is the perfect combination of bot slash human in the loop system, where it starts off by messaging people when they go to a website like, hey, this is your first time visiting. Let us know if you have any questions. Then if the user responds back, it can auto assign that to an actual human who can then continue the conversation. So it kind of kicks off the interaction, but it doesn't need to be smart enough to actually fill out all the responses.
Yeah, it's just really interesting to see these boundaries being explored, and hopefully it doesn't need to go through another dying off of things and rebuilding.
I hope not.
Yeah, which yeah, for sure. Hey, thanks to all those who participate in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Bunch of emails for episode 3000 to get through here. First of all, Hometown Rival wrote Friday afternoon that the EFF updated their article on the news that Verizon was going to install that app on your Android phones that collected information. Verizon says they're currently testing the app on a single LG phone. And based on that information, the EFF is withdrawing its post while it investigates further. Verizon, at least now, is saying, oh no, we're not rolling it out to everyone. We're testing it on a single phone. You have to opt in to use the app. So sounds like at least now it's not as bad as we thought.
Still, though, not great.
I hope the test goes poorly, is what you're saying.
Alec in Fayetteville, Arkansas writes, Tom and Veronica, happy Monday. As I have disclosed in a prior email to the show, I'm the guy that is responsible for putting robots and automation into factories. In my position, I have luckily never installed a robot that resulted in someone being let go. While yes, we eliminated a task on the factory floor, that person is instead moved to a new task. For us, that is typically a task for a lower volume product or a subjective quality control inspection that simply can't be automated. If you start to tax automation, companies will want cheaper ways to do things. And since almost any type of automation costs virtually the same to operate in any country with a reliable power grid, all the jobs that are created by automation could easily be lost. Also, I just finished Pilot X and absolutely loved it. The last time I was that enthralled with a book, it was Michael Crichton's Timeline. Wow.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Alec. I'm glad you enjoyed the book. Getting back to the robots, though, Rich in Lovely Cleveland adds that this has implications on the tax as well. He says, I think in a lot of situations, it's going to be murky what constitutes human replacement to make such a tax work. While I do think this has the possibility to transform what we consider work and could happen quickly, it will still happen at a slow enough pace that it won't be completely obvious at what level it is replacing human work. And what Alec's saying kind of bears that out. I would also expect businesses to realize this murkiness and implement their AI solutions to work around these restrictions if the tax was too onerous. Never mind the extensive lobbying that would assuredly take place from both the business community and tech providers. So you could implement your automation in a way that you could defensively say, no, it didn't actually replace a job, but we put someone in another job and then we laid that job off later, but it had nothing to do with each other.
Right. Rico says, hi, Tom and gang. Veronica. On show 2993, you and Justin were discussing the Dig Once proposal that is making its way in Washington, D.C. Here in Belgium, we live in that future. It is a dystopian future.
Oh, no.
Be careful what you wish for. Anytime an entity wants to dig open a public way, they need to go through a process that ensures that all other entities have a chance to build together. Great in theory. In practice, however, it's the typical telecom 3D tactics. Deny, delay, degrade. The big former monopoly has all the leverage. The small ISP like myself gets the shaft. I ordered a fiber connection in the center of Brussels last year in August, got an estimated delivery date of 8 weeks later. Relatively short. By the end of this cumbersome process, the delivery date was close to 24 weeks. Result, my client gave up. I hope the Dig Once rule gets implemented in the US and you guys get more competition. But stay vigilant and, to quote the boys at Mac Geek Gab, don't get caught.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's all in the implementation, right? It's not just enough to have a good idea, but to make sure the idea actually works. Stuart, the Apple Watch winner, Cooper, is an emergency services volunteer in Melbourne, Australia, who is involved in road crash rescue and says, we currently have very strict rules around who can drive our trucks with lights and sirens when required. As a result of numerous stories on DTNS about developments in autonomous vehicles, I posted a question on a member forum asking what the effects of autonomous vehicles would be, both on accident rates and as a way for emergency vehicles to be dispatched without a driver needed. There were several well thought out replies, along with several citing cases where there had been accidents with autonomous vehicles. From stories on DTNS, I was able to either counter the arguments with facts or fill in the details that were missed. Good. Glad to hear that, Stuart.
Very cool. And then we have an email from, I can't see far enough down on the email to get the name, Joel. This is a long email. He says, hello, Tom. In celebration of 3,000 episodes, I just wanted to finally write you an email to thank you. I was born in 1993, and grew up with technology and computers like everyone else in my age. But I never really thought much about it. In 2008, I started reading a couple of technology and gadget websites such as Engadget and CNET. The same year, I discovered Buzz Out Loud and listened religiously to every episode. I was fascinated by the knowledge and understanding about technology that you, Molly, and everyone else had. I got so inspired by your work that I started my own little blog writing about technology news. When I was 17, I started my own company selling banner ads on my blog. I didn't make a lot of money, but it was nice. It was a nice thing to do in my spare time. Some of the things I first reported on found its way back to Engadget, CNET, and even on the show over the years. In 2013, I wanted to do more with my writing, so I spent 3 years getting a bachelor's degree in journalism. During my time at the university, I kept on writing about technology in my spare time. After I finished my degree, I got a job at a media company who wanted to start a mobile-centric journalistic technology website. I am now the editor-in-chief of a new and small but growing journalistic mobile technology website, and I love my job. Since the day I found Buzz Out Loud in 2008, I have listened to every episode of BOL, TNT, and DTNS that you have ever been on. You have been a constant source of inspiration and a foundation of my way of looking at technology and journalism. You have inspired me to see things from different perspectives, but not always just believe what's on the surface and to always be critical. No other person has meant so much to me as you have. I thank you for what you do and for what you've inspired me to do. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Joel.
Aw, so I guess we did have a little episode 3000 celebration. Thank you, Joel. That's very nice.
That's so nice.
And thank you, Veronica Belmont, who's been here for many of these 3,000 episodes.
I'm all right, I guess.
Yeah, you're pretty good. What you got going on these days? Well, for sure, tell people how they can subscribe to your bot zine.
Yes, if you want to read Botzine, follow up on all the hot bot stories of the week, head over to botzine.org. You can also join the bot makers community at botmakers.org if you're an enthusiast or just interested in hearing about perspectives from enthusiasts and other creators. Also, if you work on a big team and want to help celebrate your team wins, check out Growbot at growbot.io. It's the company I work for and write for, and it's a good time.
Thanks to everybody who gives a little value back for the value they get from this show, including Lou Paquette, Dax Gazaway, Stuart Marshall, and many more at patreon.com/DTNS. Look, you want to count yourself along with Dax Gazaway as a patron at patreon.com/DTNS. Thank you, Dax. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Nicole Lee from Engadget. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom.
Nice.
Good episode. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
What should we call it?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Fartbots.
can.
Fartbot.
My little Fartbot dog just added a fart.
T3000 or T3000. It's either a Terminator or a Toyota. Taking pirate broadcasting to a whole new level. How Uber psychs up its drivers. Android domination. And blogs we trust. Uber clingy. Zap. You're in the Navy now. The tingling sensation means it's working. I thought someone would kind of do a spidey sense.
My spidey brain is tingling.
BOL plus TNT plus DTNS equals 3000. Hack all the TVs. Moving chatbots beyond Hello World. Pirate broad hacking. We control the horizontal, we control the vertical, we control your TV. No, this isn't the Twilight Zone. No, it's the Outer Limits.
I can't decide. There's a lot of good ones in here.
Well, while you decide, I'm going to chomp on some more icy. It's really warm.
I need you guys to tell me what you think. Because I could go with a 3000 related one. I'm fine with that. But I also like how Uber psychs up its drivers. Is happier in the Navy now.
Zapping you're in the Navy now is funny, and I like it, but I'm not sure if it covers all the broad stuff that you guys...
True. Fartbot is winning.
Fartbot's good. But I remember
episode 3000, Fartbot.
That sounds like something you would see on Futurama.
Right. Totally does.
Do.
Beats by Seal.
Hack all the TVs. Uber gamification.
In Soviet Russia, TV watches you.
It's true.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I guess this one's good. DTNS 3K.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, it will say DTNS 3000 dash, then the name.
I would say Fartbot.
Fartbot.
Because I am still in junior high.
Kind of reduces the conversation down a little bit.
That tingling sensation means it's working.
I like that one too.
Brain freeze.
How Uber psychs up its drivers. All right. Veronica, what's your vote? I'm exporting now.
Guess I don't know. This one's hard because the show wasn't really about Uber.
We had a pretty good conversation about it, but yeah, you're right.
Maybe Fartbots, but plural instead of Fartbot.
Oh, make it plural.
Yeah.
Bought and made for. Oh, that's pretty good from ICU.
Roger, what do you think?
It's at the bottom. Bought and made
No, but
for.
that's your pick? Bought and made for? Yes?
Oh, it's so hard. Once you go bot, you never go back. I thought we've done something like that before. All right. Fartbot. Fartbot.
All right, done. It's carried. Motion carried. Fartbot.
All right.
Sorry.
I'm out. I'm out of 5,000. I'm out of 3,000.
Do you even know what that means?
Drop a Fartbot title and you're out. Got it.
See ya.
See ya.
Do you know the history of Audi 5000?
What is the history of Audi 5000? What are you eating? A Slurpee? You're really, seriously eating a Slurpee? Wow.
It was in the freezer from yesterday.
I thought you were, and it's leftover.
Yeah, that's
you
what I
mentioned
mean.
the Slurpee earlier. I don't know if it got caught in the pre-show, but I had no idea.
It's so much sugar. I'm getting a rush.
Why are you eating that? You're you're the person I cite when I say one of the first things you should cut off is sugary drinks.
I do. I have one of these a month. All
right.
Maybe every 2 weeks.
Your FDA approved regulated monthly allowance.
The Audi 5000 goes back in the 80s when there was a spate of consumer complaints against Audi 5000s because the brakes didn't work or something.
Oh.
And so when it was used, like in Clueless, I'm Audi 5. It just meant that I'm not stopping because I can't stop. I'm just rolling through.
Got it. Yeah, it has more meaning then than I thought. Otherwise, it's just a meaningless pun.
Yep. The fart has passed. Oh, so much sugar. I gotta stop eating this. This is bad for you. It's bad, people. Your liver wasn't designed to eat an icy.
Don't follow Roger's example. We have a Eileen, I should say, not me. I get to drive it sometimes. Eileen has an A4. It's old. It's older, but it's a good car.
Yeah, I mean, just buying parts for those things, for European cars in general, is just so expensive.
True. True that. I personally drive a 14-year-old Toyota. Also a foreign car, but the parts aren't as expensive.
Well, anytime you take
And
a
it's
car to
pretty
a wrecking
reliable.
yard, if it's a Mercedes, Beamer, doesn't matter. If it's European, they'll take it and they'll strip it for parts.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm going to have to trade that car in. So
I
I
am
just get a
driving my
Civic.
car until
What's the most reliable car these days?
a Toyota. Literally, it is a Toyota.
Another Toyota. The Camry?
That's what I got. It's a
I thought
2006.
the Civic was now like right up there too, but
That's it.
I don't know.
I forgot which one it was. I think Civic is like up, or Civic is up there, but it's like number 4. Like the
Okay.
rest are either Lexus or Toyota. I mean, really, the same company.
Correct. One is just more expensive and has more little features.
The only thing I never liked about Hondas is they have very low ground clearance for their cars.
Oh, really?
So at least back in San Francisco, I would always be scraping. You know.
Oh, I thought that was a really good episode.
It was great. Bot. Leveraging her strength in the bot world.
Yeah. She knows her stuff.
She knows her butts. Robots.
Robot arms. Can't believe it's April already. I think I say that every April.
Oh,
That's always
because of your
true.
taxes?
No, I feel like the year just started. I still feel like it's a new year, and we're more than 25% of the way through now.
I know.
April. I think it's the 4. Once you get to the 4, it really feels like, oh man, we're close to halfway through, even though we're really not. We still have 3 months to go before we're halfway through. You know what I'm saying? Or are you too busy eating your icy? Your slushy, I'm sorry.
getting a brain freeze.
How can you tell?
It just feels like it's empty in there. No. Yeah, no, I would say definitely it does feel that way. Part of it is there's so much crap you need to do, like taxes and all these things at the beginning of the year. At least for me, it just feels like the year is already underway. January, February, March. Part of it is because spring doesn't really hit till March. And so you're kind of, it's still winter. It's rainy. It's like, ugh. And when the sun's out, you think, oh, no, it's a new start to a new year. Birds are singing. Butterflies are fluttering.
Butterflying.
Kids are going to school and screaming.
Ah, yes. The sounds of spring.
The carpenter's playing in the background.
Why do birds suddenly appear
Every
out of
time
nowhere,
you were near?
as if they were transported from a spaceship?
It's because I was paid to release these doves whenever he approached you, ma'am.
Why do birds suddenly appear and attack me for no reason, without provocation? Yes, please send your Carpenter's takes, your dystopian Carpenter's lyrics to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. By the way, I started something this month that if it goes well, I might keep doing every month, which is an open thread on patreon.com/DTNS. So you can get in there and talk to other people, ask questions. Just basically, it's an open thread. Yeah, you post whatever you want. So get in there and try it out, patreon.com/DTNS. And it is open to all, not just patrons. It's not a locked thread. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We will talk to you tomorrow with Nicole Lee.